Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with our 8th video in our Platinum Trophy Guide for the last hero of Nostalgaia. In the last video we'd gone through the lair of the adversary, taking on the pipe layer Mercutio, and then we'd also continued on to beating the Reservoir of Pain and activating the good ending of the game, as well as completing Nameless Nero's quest, Vengeance's quest, the Innocent One's quest, and the Reservoir of Pain's quest, which I feel doesn't make a lot of sense considering we're not actually doing his quest how he wants it, but oh well. And then we also get the trophy for giving ourselves back to Nostalgaia, which is one of the 2 endings that you can achieve. Now, once you beat the game, you do have an option to go into New Game Plus, and we said no to that, which basically kicks you out right before you sacrifice yourself so you can finish whatever you need to. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be going through each area as you would normally progress through them and get all of the remembrances for the items, where you would get them and how to remember them. I'll briefly give a detail, and I will also leave a link to the official Steam guide that goes over all of the details for all of the items, if you can buy them, if you have to farm them, all that stuff, and also with pictures to show you all that stuff in case my video isn't 100% what you need and it doesn't go into as much detail as the guide. I'm just trying to show you exactly what and where. So the first thing we're going to remember here, is the armor for the New Order's rule. Now, if you're curious, you can see when looking at the chest piece for armor sets, it'll tell you where, and it'll kind of give you an idea at the very bottom with that little bit of lore text. So here we can remember the first of many from the New Order's rule. Pretty good. And then just from here, if we follow this path forward and take this first corner, we'll have our next one we can remember right here. We'll have to scroll on up, and I will state that for most of the armor sets, you will need to have their entire 4-piece set, if possible, to remember them. But here we have the Welcome's uniform. There we go. So now we'll move on to the next one. Alright, the next 2 that we're going to get is going to be found still here in the Hall of Heroes, but kind of in this side area in the NPC area, as you'll see. We come over here and come off to the left inside this room here, as you'll see, we can remember our next chest piece. As you'll see right here, the easy target. Then from here, if we turn around, head out, and come over here to this little side area here, we can go flat over here to remember our next item, and that is actually going to be a weapon found just inside this room here, as you'll see. We'll come inside here, have this kind of unique room, and we'll have a weapon that we'll remember, trying to find it. Here it is, the Memory Saber. And now we can move on. Alright, so the next 3 items to remember are kind of story related, but I will still go over them. So the first one you'll actually get is the first one you remember, and that is the Locksmith's Serrated Saw. I do believe you can't not remember this weapon. You have to always remember it in every playthrough in order to unlock the ability and go over how to use it, which is a bit annoying, but trust me, it's not going to affect the next playthrough where you have to unburden every item. That one's not as strict on items you have to remember. So we'll come down here and remember our next 2 weapons at the heart. So up next we have a shield and a hammer. Like I said, the Stern Glare, which you get from NPC City, and is needed to complete the Innocent One's quest line and to fight the Reservoir of Pain at the end of the game. So we have that. So then the next one that you'll have to remember is the Shield of Inspiration, which you get for beating the Icon of Heroism in the Hall of Heroes the first time, and this is needed to progress Nameless Nero's quest line. So now we can move on to the Oreshaft Village, so I'll see you there. Alright, so starting off here in Oreshaft Village, you're going to have your first item to remember here over to the left. You'll come into this building on the right here. Now the item that we're going to remember is a weapon that you can buy from the merchant from his base stock. So all you do is you'll come up here, you'll come through here and enter this room right here, as you'll see, and then you'll remember the weapon, the Noble Apine. I believe that's how you say that. Then from here we're going to just head back down, continue to the beacon more or less. So we'll come over here, we'll come off to the left, and first we'll follow this path all the way down, and just here at these bars we can remember the other brother weapon. So we'll come here, remember this. Then if we immediately come around over here to this unique shop, we can remember our next weapon, the Bucko Blade. There it is. Like I said, I am going to leave a link to pretty much most of the items. The Steam guide, like I said, has a great amount of detail put in to help you guys, especially whenever it comes to like farming and things and who and what to farm. But now if we proceed through Oreshaft Village like we're going to progress through normal, instead of doing that, if we come over here to the shortcut from the lair of the adversary, we can remember our next item, and that is a shield. Once the game loads, of course. So if we come all the way down here, we can remember the Covert Cultist cover. Now, there are a bunch of items that you will have to remember other items in order to remember them, which is a bit annoying, but I will go over those. But from here, if we proceed forward like normal and then enter this cathedral, here we have our next weapon to remember. I believe it's the Gilded Axe, which you get from the Hall of Heroes right here. Should be somewhere around here. Trying to remember. There we go. You have to be at the actual open area. Then from here we're going to proceed forward through Oreshaft Village until we get to the next big area. Nothing to remember for now. We're basically just getting to the square itself. As you'll see, we'll come in here, come out here, and be right here at the statue of Gnome. And here we can remember our next armor set, which is right here, the Stolen Wraps Tunic. Then from here, if we head into this building right here, we have the blacksmith shop. And normally you'll find the weapon and remember it here after picking it up to progress the story, as you will need to remember this weapon regardless in order to upgrade your weapons, so it's not going to count against you. Alright, so from here we're going to make our way all the way down through this area here. There are 2 items that we can remember here, but one we do need to remember another item in order to unlock, so we will have to eventually backtrack and remember this item. It will be here at this pile, as you'll see just right next to us, but for now we're going to head all the way down in here. And at the Unbreachable Maw entrance, you will remember the next armor set that we have, which is farmed from the knights at the Keep of the Stolen Crown, the Haunted Dream. There we go. So now I'm going to head back up to the gnome statue and proceed from there. From here, if we proceed through Orshaft Village like normal, we'll come here into the tavern, and just here we can learn the next weapon, the Legionaric, which is obtained from beating the Grinder boss. Always trying to remember where it is, and here it is. There we go. Then from here we can get our next weapon. So we'll come up here like normal and enter this door here that we have to unpress, and here we can remember our next shield. Don't know why it went all the way down if I have to go back up, but you'll remember the Shield of Nostalgaia. I hope I said that correctly. And now we can head up to the depths. So what you can do is you can just drop down and backtrack through the area and come up with the shortcut here. Now, for most of the main story related remembrances, I have already gone over those when you need to remember them, but I will give a short highlight. So the next one we can remember before heading into the depths is just over here. And this is tied to Lady So's quest and partially the Reservoir of Pain in a sense, I should say. But after doing the Keep of the Stolen Crown and talking to the old man who helps you go flat, you have to at least remember the Chrysalis Tooth and Warlock's Wilds, and then come over here, as you'll see, and remember the Edge of Entropy weapon, which I'll show you now, right here. And then upon doing so and leaving, then Lady So will attack you, and so forth and so on. So now we can move on to the depths. Isn't that just grand? Now we're almost to Festivity Row as well. There's only a few in the depths that we can really get right now, but that's perfectly fine and okay. Now, one thing I will mention right now as well is there is a bunch of items that require you to just have memory to restore them, which isn't too bad. But I will go over those at the end, or after a certain point when we have nothing left to do. Alright, now heading into the depths, we've got 3 that we can get right now. So immediately heading in, it's a bit of a ways inside. The first one we can get is just up ahead though to our right once we head up the stairs here. And the weapon that we can remember is just down below right there in that water. So if you then come over here, follow this around, and you'll find this door right here. Here you can remember the next weapon that we have, the Iron Jimmy, which you'll see right here. Then from here we're going to head on to the main path as if we're going to start Lady So and Nameless Nero's quest. So from here you will just follow this path forward. Keep to the left And then once over here, we'll head to the left again. And you're basically going to head all the way down into the void, more or less, or where the black void is coming out, as you'll see over here. And once you're down in here, then you should be able to remember the Forgotten Space Armor. Now from here, we're then going to make our way forward and take the shortcut after defeating the grinder boss to get the third and final one for now in the depths. Like I said, there is more that we can get in certain areas, but you have to remember others, so for now we'll just play it safe and grab what we can while we can. So if we proceed forward and head down all the way, like so. Now the next item you'll get after progressing Nameless Nero's quest all the way to the NPC city, or start of sequence. But from here, what you're going to want to do is come across over to here, and you'll go flat. And just over here by this lantern, we'll remember our next shield of the game, and that is the projector. Not too bad. So now we're going to follow this path all the way up to Festivity Row and be on our way to the next area. Like I've said before, there are plenty of ones that you can remember with just memory after getting them. But now you can head forward like normal and end up in the next area. Now, here at Festivity Road, there's 4 we can remember. The first one is going to be found by taking the shortcut back to the giant circular staircase, and we're going to head all the way down to the very bottom floor. As you'll see here, we have to call the elevator up, and just here right next to the elevator is where we can remember our first armor set, just right here. As you'll see, we have the Disgraced, Defense, like I've said before, for the armor sets you will need all 4 pieces for some. There are others that are unique, as they only have 1 piece that they have, or 2, or however many. But from here we're now going to take this elevator up, and just over here to the left on this golden toilet we can remember our next armor set, and that is the Golden Guard right here. There we go. Now from here we'll just follow the path like normal, and we'll get our next 2 weapons remembered. So continuing along and following this around, as you'll see, we'll basically just be cutting through areas that we've been to before. But here instead we're going to head off to the left. We'll follow this inside, and I'm sure everyone is remembering the giant ton weight right here in front of us, and that is going to be for our next weapon. As you'll see, we can remember the Loot Hero's Loot. There we go. And then from here we're actually going to continue all the way down to the very bottom of that area below us, the area where you learn how to unprez objects. So just a quick run and we'll be down there in no time at all. As you'll see. Nothing too crazy. And it'll be on that main stage that we can remember our next boss weapon, the one you get for defeating Nom, or Gnome. I'm sure I've mispronounced it too many times now. But from here, once on the stage, we can remember his weapon that we get after beating him. Don't know why I always do this where I'll scroll down just to scroll up. So here we can get Nom's dancing pole. There we go. So now from here we're going to proceed forward into the quest reward vault and get our next set of items nice and remembered. Alright, here in the quest reward vault there's only 2 that we can get. I will say at least for now, because you never know how many you might have to backtrack for. But the first one is going to be actually found here inside the quest reward vault, and the other one is going to be kind of towards the end. But as you progress through, you'll eventually have this room here with all these cells, and then you have one that has this bridge in it. And here we can remember our next weapon, the Arachnid Stinger. It's always so much fun trying to remember where it is, but here it is. Then from here we can head on up to the next one. I'll just make a run past everything to get there, just to save on time. As you'll see, once you make your way to the kitchen itself, just do a quick rest. But here in the kitchen we can remember our next armor set that we found all the way in Orshaft Village. I know it's somewhere in here. Come on, where is it? Okay, just over here on this little stove is where you can remember the Master Chef's Iron Apron. There we go. Now from here I'm going to actually skip all the way to the giant rainbow bridge before Warlock's Wilds. Alright, so once here at the actual golden bridge, you need to be partially on it like I am in order to remember our next item, the shield. As you'll see right here, we can remember the shelter. Like so. Then we can make our way into Warlock's Wilds, and I will see you there. Now, once here in Warlock's Wilds, it's going to be after the first beacon gets activated and you're in the second area is where you can start remembering all of the items. So as you can see here, just on the main path, we have the first one that we should already have remembered because of its story importance. But you have the chrysalis tooth that you can remember right here at the lemonade stand. You'll see right here. There's 6 in total that we can get, so we'll get them while we can. So if we come up from the lemonade stand all the way to the back over here, as I'm sure you'll remember, there is this little putt area. Here we can remember the Predator's putter, like so. Then from here we'll immediately turn around, head back down, and then head like we're going to take the shortcut backward paths around, But instead, we're going to head up. We're going to use the shortcut to the old crone's throne, or home, on our left here. And just right here, we'll remember our first headpiece. So we can actually go all the way to the bottom now, and this will allow us to remember the Crown of the Undone. There we go. Then from here, if we actually follow this down, and then head down again over here, come all the way down here to this shack, we can remember our next item in here. Another headpiece. Where'd it go? No, I had it somewhere. There it is. The Lost One Visage. But we're not quite done. We have 2 left to grab. So from here, we're just going to head back on all the way up and across, as if you're going to grab the Vespine wing in order to reach this shack here. So we'll come across like normal, and we'll head up to this little area just above us, and we'll get our last 2 that we can get for now in the Warlock's Wilds. So the first one we'll get is actually on this platform that you fight the NPC to get the wing. So in here we have our next weapon to remember. As you'll see, the Sword of Service. Now from here, what we're actually going to do is enter the tower just behind us, and we'll head down a floor to where the beacon is located just behind, as you'll see right here. And just in this area in general, you can remember our final weapon for now, the My Crafter. There we go. So now we're going to move on to the rehabilitation pits and the Keep of the Stolen Crown. So I'll see you all once we're there. Just outside the Keep of the Stolen Crown, as if you're going to head into the rehabilitation pits, just over here I believe, we can remember our next weapon. So many weapons, but here we can remember the Hero Stumper. So now we're actually going to head through the normal path to the rehabilitation pits, and so I will see you once we're inside. Once here in the rehabilitation pits, as you'll see, here at the beacon itself, we can remember the next weapon, the Run Home. Then from here, we're basically going to grab the one and only other item for now in the rehabilitation pits. So we'll take the shortcut that we've unlocked here, head on up, and from here you basically are just going to take the path normal to progress through, come over here, and here it's on the 3rd cell on the right. Right in here, we'll remember our next weapon. Scrolling up to it, the Devourer of Strife. So now I'm going to head back to the outside beacon just before entering the Keep of the Stolen Crown, and we'll be moving on from there. Now, surprisingly, all of the items that you can remember at the Keep of the Stolen Crown are not within this first lower section, thankfully. There is a few items you do find in there, but for us, we don't need that at all. Instead, we just need to access the elevator that is here. So from here, we'll just take the elevator up. And then we'll use the beacon that's up here going forward. And also, while we're here at this beacon, we can grab our first remembrance, aside from the one we already got, right here. So if we scroll down, we can remember the usurper's blood letter. There we go. And then we'll be moving on from this beacon moving forward. Alright, so one thing I forgot to mention is there is one remembrance that we have to get up ahead that we've already done, and that is for the civilizations form, which you need to do for Lady So's quests. You do get the armor down below in the area we skip, but for the sake of things, if you're following this guide, then you should already have done that. So now we can proceed forward and grab the remaining 4 items that we need in this next couple of areas. Now there is one item I did miss, and I will point that out when we get to it. From here though, we'll just follow the path forward, head on up, as you'll see, we'll now be here. Now, if you don't know how to enter this little area right here, I'm going to quickly show you how to do that before we actually head inside and remember our item. Just remember it's tied to humility. So if we proceed forward like normal, we'll just head through the next area. We'll head on up.
Do not waver. Nostalgaia has forgotten.
Like I said, the item that I missed is in the humility section, but for now, we're just going to show you how to gain access to it. So after proceeding forward like normal, heading on up, you'll eventually reach this little area here with a bridge and a broken railing. So what you're going to want to do is pretty much come over here and drop down onto the roof. You're going to take a bit of damage, but that's fine. And then what you're going to want to do is then just fall right here to grab the key for this area right here, as you'll see. Then from here you can basically drop down again, like here, then here, then here, then here, and you'll be right back at humility. Now here at humility, we're going to remember our next armor set, and that is going to be the tunic, more or less, once it decides it wants to activate. I'm not sure why it doesn't, but it will, hopefully here. There we go.
Your pride twists you. Your ego overcomes your essence.
And then while we're here, I'm also going to go over the item. Basically, you have to just kneel in front of this statue until this door opens. Once the door opens, of course, then you can head on up to the top and we'll grab the item that I had missed. This is an item that you will need to remember, so that is 100% my bad. But as you'll see right here, we'll grab this item, the perfect fit. So then we can head on back. We'll basically need to remember that later in NPC City. which will be just after this. But from here, we'll just continue
Your
on
pride
and head on up.
twists you. Your ego
So we've got 3 remembrances left of the area. As I'm sure you've seen every time I've scrolled through, there are a lot of items I can remember, but most of those are just for memory alone and not actually having to be at a specific location. And like I said, I'll go over those at the
Nostalgaia has
end.
forgotten her traditions.
So from
Force
here,
them
we'll head back
upon
on up.
her. Share the bounty of your conviction.
Definitely a long run for sure. But we're almost there. So from here, once we head inside this area here, we're basically just going to come off to the right, follow this path up. Before proceeding up and forward, we're going to immediately turn around and come to this side area where you have to unpress the door and head up over here. Now, apart from getting a unique code, we also can remember a weapon, which you have to get from beating the area boss, Wonder Schonenberg. So then you can backtrack into here and remember her weapon of choice, the Wonderful Point Maker. There we go. Now the last 2 items are actually going to be after the Wonder Schonenberg boss, and are pretty close to each other. We have another weapon, and then we have an armor set. The armor set is for Blade the Bold, and it is achieved after beating the narrator in NPC City / started sequence. So backtracking all this way is definitely a jog. But from here, we'll now head on up. Follow this path around. Once it loads, of course, then we can head up. Head through her arena. There's nothing to actually remember in the boss room itself, of course. But from here, we'll follow this around. And just over here, we can remember the pipe layer's weapon, which we'll find all the way at the bottom here, the laid pipe. And we're not quite done just yet, hold on. So from here, we'll then take these stairs up. Keep heading on up all the way to the top, to where we're into the giant pink room itself. Then from here, we will remember Blade the Bold's armor set. There we go. Then from here, we're going to head all the way down to NPC City and be on our way through the last couple areas and then the cleanup of all the remembrances. Alright, once back here at the Hall of Heroes, we're actually going to head into the NPC City and grab the 2 items that we need to grab. So we've already gotten the plot thread scissors at the narrator's castle or tower, and then we already got the memory saber at the start of this video. So we've only got 2 items to grab actually here in NPC City. Ignore the 4 for now. So for the most part, it's just a straight run to these 2 items. So from here, you just follow this around, head on up. Come inside here, Once on the other side of this hallway, you'll actually go flat over here. And here we can remember the first of the two items. As you'll see right here, you have this unique structure. And then we have that item that we got in the Keep of the Stolen Crown that I'd forgotten to grab. The perfect fit. There we go. Then from here we can proceed forward until we reach the blacksmith. So from here we'll just follow this down and around. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Once over here, we can head inside right here. And as you can probably guess, in here we have another armor set to remember, the Anti-Hero Establishment. Overall, pretty good. And then we can now move on to the beacon that we were just at to head into the start of sequence. Thankfully, though, there's only 2 that we need to grab in there as well. Now, once here at the Hall of Heroes, we're actually going to backtrack to get the 2 remaining remembrances for the start of sequence. The third one we've already gotten, and that is the heirloom item, which you need to progress Vengeance's questline. So we're going to grab the one that's closest to us, and then go the normal path to grab the one that is farthest away. So from here, you can be just outside of the boss arena for the narrator, and you'll want to come into this little clock tower here, as you'll see. And then from here is where you should be able to remember the Dagger of Cycles. Once that's remembered, we can now head back through the normal path and enter the actual start of sequence the normal way to get the next remembrance. Once everything loads, there we go. Now from here we're going to just take this elevator down. And then we're just going to be running straight through the start of sequence to get to the next beacon, not to rest at it, but that is the location of where we remember our next armor piece, and then we can move on. So from here, like I said, you're just going to want to run through everything as quickly as possible. As you'll see though, it doesn't take too long to get there. Then here we'll hug the right side. And you'll know you're in the right area when you get to tutorial number 6. And you'll be right here. Then we can remember our next armor set. The Heart of a Hero. So now we're going to be moving on to the lair of the adversary, and that one is pretty close to the end of the area. So I'll show you where we're going to be starting from and where to go. Once here in the lair of the adversary, you'll be quite surprised to realize you can run past like 90% of this area to get the 3 remembrances that we can grab right now. And I'll show you exactly how to do just that. So, without taking any balls to the face, we'll make our way through. And like I said, we're just going to run past everything. Let's get to where I can. There we go. Like I said, just run past everything in our path. Heal when we need to. Head on up here. Try not to fall through the path over here. Come to the right. Proceed past all these enemies here. So see. Rest this beacon. And here we can remember our next weapon. The irrelevant appendage. There we go. Then from here, we're just going to basically run all the way to the next beacon. Like I said, we're just going to be running. Pretty straightforward path, as you can see. Nothing too crazy when you don't have to try and fight anything. We're almost there at the second beacon, which is where our next memory is going to be at. Here we are. We'll rest just to be safe. Then from here we can remember the cipher weapon. Right here. There we go. Then from here, the last 2 things to grab are going to be a bit further in. But still a fairly decent run. As you can see here, there's not much anything can do to stop us. After making our way through, as you'll see, the only difficult part is just up ahead, as it's got the lava that rises. Try and wait a second. Then we'll run through. We'll tank any damage that we have to. Prefer the fire damage over the actual spears, so that's what we'll do. Then we'll run on through. Almost to the last 2 remembrances, so don't worry. From here we'll just follow this around. Come on up and to the right. Once you're at this staircase that can lead up to fight the pipe layer, instead we'll come off to the left here. As you'll see, we have this little area, and then just over here outside by this, we can remember our next armor set, the chainmail bikini. Then from here, if we actually head to the opposite side, we can then remember our next item. So we'll come across here, run past this guy, enter this last cell, come up here, follow this around, and once you're here in this little back area is where we can remember the next armor set, the Savior's Raiment. There we go. So now we're going to head back to the Heartflow altar to go over the rest of the items, those that require you to do certain things, such as remembering other items, and all of the ones that we can just remember as is. We don't need to be in specific locations. So I'll see you there. Alright, now to officially go over the 17 items that require memory, we'll just start in order. We have the butterfly knife. For some reason, somehow it already got remembered. We have the data digging dagger. As you'll see, most of these will just say, oh yes, cost 6,000. So that is officially number 2. We then have the brain piercer. We then have the vibrating sword. We now have the Drake saber. We'll have the crucible. Then have the crash of thunder. The quack's strut. The tempest lance. The caliber of memory. The utter annihilator. The demon tearjerker. The foreign queen's chill. The waylighter. The heaven's rim. The unlikely lenses. The red racer. And last but not least, we have the primal pelts. So now the last remaining memory items, as you can see, there's only 5 left that I have to get. Those are more or less in terms of relations to certain things, which I will go over, don't worry. But as you can see, we only have so many left, and then we will have our trophy. So one thing I will state is, while we're here at the Heartflow altar, if we come off to the right and come over here, you should see this wall that has this handprint on it. Take care of the enemies first. As you'll see, we can use the arm that we remembered, and this will reveal a nice little secret area for us, as you'll see. And inside we will find Memory of a Valiant Hero, the Sandwich Wisdom, which will get you the Ode to a Blacksmith trophy, and the Memory of a Valiant Hero. Then from here, as you'll see, this surprisingly leads to the Orshaft village. Now, to get the Ode to a Blacksmith, I will go over all the armor sets right now. That way you can see them from top to bottom. So you will need to grab all of the Hollow Skull. You'll need to have the Null Rando Master arms, which you start with. You'll need the full Stolen Wraps hood. You'll need the Unlikely lenses. You'll need the full Tunics set. You'll need the full Amnesiac's Thoughts set. You'll need the Red Racers. You'll need the Welcome set. You'll need the Forgotten Knight armor. You'll need Leonard's Lounge shorts. You'll need the Heart of a Hero, Heart of a Hero's Path, and Heart of a Hero's Touch. You'll need the Crown of the Undone headpiece, the Easy Target chest piece, the full Easy Maker head set, the Chainmail bikini and thong. You'll need the Save Me mask. You'll need the full Anti-Hero set. You'll need the full Forgotten Space set. You'll need the Heroism's New Clothes set, which you get at the Statue of Heroism after beating the game. You'll then need the full Primal set. You'll need the Lost One Visage set. You'll need the Blade the Bold set. You'll need the Disgraced set. The Master Chef's Iron set. The Golden set. The Haunted Dream set. The Civilization set. The Savior's Raiment set. The New Order set. And then last but not least, the Sandwiches set. Once you have all of those, then that will get you all of the armor pieces and will get you the trophy right there. Okay, now once we're ready, we're going to tackle the last 5 items that you need to remember, and those do require you to have some certain things that are necessary. So, in some regards, like the Bad Dream weapon that I'll go over in just a moment, you basically have to have certain items remembered first. So, basically, in some regards, you need to have certain items remembered that help you figure out how other items are remembered. So, for example, I'll go over it now. As I'll show you, there's 2 weapons to talk about. Like I said, the Bad Dream weapon, which requires you to have the Caliber of Memory remembered, and this will allow you to remember the Bad Dream weapon. You need to have the Brendan Merkel's armor to remember the Invincible Hammer. You need to have the one sword that we learned in the Warlock's Wilds in order to remember the Servant's Shield. As you can see, it kind of loops in and out on itself. So once again, I'll try and start from the closest and work my way backwards. So from here, we're actually going to head back through the lair of the adversary. We're not going to completely go through the lair of the adversary, but we're going to simply backtrack and grab the first item. So from here, as you'll see, we're basically going to head back to the area where you can rest at that beacon. So if we come here and come over to this area over here, as you'll see, like so, in this area here is where we can remember the armor for the amnesiac's hope. So if we come over here, as you'll see, we can then come over here and remember this. Ta-da! So now we're going to head back and head to Oreshaft Village, and like I said, on the snow area, like you're going to head into the lair of the adversary is where we're going to find our next item to remember, so I will see you there. Alright, now like I said, as you guys can see, if you're heading down to the lair of the adversary here, after remembering the item, or the weapon, the Sword of Service, we can then finally come down here and remember the Servant's Shield. Now we're not quite done yet, as we have one more item that we can remember here at the start of the lair of the adversary. Going to try and do my best just to run straight to it, and that is the Bad Dream Sword. Like I said, you need to have the one other halberd item remembered. Do be careful, as this is death. There we go. There we are. Almost there. Then from here, I'm just gonna run through. Now the last two items that we have to remember are found in Festivity Row, surprisingly. That's pretty bad. That's okay. We can come over here. There's this elevator that we can take up. That's what happens when you just aren't good at the game. Now I highly recommend just resting at the beacon in Oreshaft Village to save yourself on time, because then you can just use a fireplace stone to head back to that one and then take a shortcut back to Festivity Row. So from here we're just going to make a mad dash all the way down, as you'll see. We'll wait. There we go. Follow this down. And just over here, as you can see, we can now remember the Bad Dream. So we'll come here, scroll all the way down, and there it is. So, like I said, we now have only two items to remember. One weapon, which is the Invincible Hammer in Festivity Row, and the Leonard Lounge Shorts, also found in Festivity Row. So I'll show you guys exactly where to go and how to get them from the beacon in Oreshaft Village. Alrighty, so from here we're just going to follow this path around, head on up, and basically take the shortcut that we unlock to get to the Festivity Row. For those of you who don't remember, you unlock a elevator just in the central area here, just up ahead. So we'll end up taking this up, and be on our merry little way. As you'll see, these doors are open and will lead to the elevator. As you'll see, come inside here, lower this. Let me in, let me in. Well, this is awkward. Anyways, now we'll take this up. And once ready, we can then exit out. As you'll see, we'll be at Festivity Row. But we're just going to quickly run through everything and take the fastest path forward that we can. If I remember correctly, it's just a straight run through to get to the specific area that we're going for. Watch this the one time that the shortcut actually was more helpful. But the first one we can grab is just up ahead here. As you'll see, we can head flat and come over here to this little side area. This is for the Leonard's Lounge shorts, which require you to have learned or remembered the Servant's Shield, which we just got. So now you should be able to come down all the way. And there we go. Bam. Just like that. Then from here we only have one more item to get, and then we'll have remembered all of the items in the last hero of Nostalgaia. And I see the tree just up ahead. Basically, that giant red tree up there is where we have to go. And of course, the shortcut would have helped, but we also needed the shorts, so this still works out in the long run. Like always, you just want to run past everything. Nothing can hurt you if they can't hit you. From here, we're just heading all the way down to get to the elevator, as you'll see. Ah, that's okay. I want my memory back, though. You can't have that. So, following this down, we can call forth the elevator. Guess either way is fine. Like so. Take it on up. Then we'll follow the normal path forward. Like so. Continue following this down and around. As you'll probably see, we're almost there. And we finally made it to our tree. Obviously, I'm going to try and clear off any important enemies that are going to be trying to get in our way. There we go. Let's see, did they follow? Nope. So now, right here at the tree, you are able to learn and remember the Invincible Hammer. There we go. And that should get you the Lore of the Land trophy. That has definitely been quite a lot of work. I will definitely need a breather after this one. But as always though, this has been Mr. Pilgrim. I do hope that these guides and videos are helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I didn't go into too much detail about where to get certain things, but like I said, I will leave a link to the full dedicated Steam guide that does go into detail about things, in case this video wasn't already long enough or wasn't the exact details that you needed for some things. I do apologize for that, as like I said, this is just to help you guys see exactly where to remember everything that you need to remember, where you need to remember it, and then a few of the extras. Some of the things I wish I could have gotten beforehand, but I felt like doing it in the order that I did made the most sense, to go through each area as you would normally progress through them, and then going back for the things that you can now get. If you don't like that, I completely understand. Trust me, it's a pain, but like always, I do hope that this was helpful and to show you guys how to get everything, as well as the bonus of all of the armor as well. But like always, I'll see you all in the next